Hey everyone, Doug in PA. This is a quick. Uh, I decided to do this live stream. I had one of my friends sent me this story, and I had to cover it. So make sure to like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. It shows that you support me and the content on this channel. So what we're going to cover today is there was a teacher in Colorado who got pregnant by a male student, which is disgusting. He was 13 years old. And she got pregnant by him, and she faced prosecution and went to trial, but she avoided jail time. And now people having relations with underage students is disgusting. Men and women shouldn't do it at all. But you're seeing an uptick in female teachers doing this type of stuff. And there's still a double standard. We know the look at the stats on the harsher sentences that men get than women, and it's blatantly apparent in cases like this. I have uh I have the guy that sent me this story, Jason. He's going to join the call in a second, but I'm going to start with I found this News Nation video that talks about the differences in sentencing in these instances. Let me bring that up real quick right here. So we're going to review that first, and then we're going to go to the story. One second, let me bring that up real quick. Uh, mhm, hold on. Oops. One second, you guys. Make sure it's sharing the sound. Share to have audio. Good. Okay. So we're going to start by reviewing this video here. It says why male teachers get harsher sentences for abuse. Abuse. And I'm going to try to censor my language because it's YouTube. YouTube it doesn't like anything. Uh, has so many filters that it can flag the video or make me not able to post this or might take the live down. So let's start by reviewing the story here. Let's go.
Hour-long special into arrests and scandals surrounding sexual relationships between female teachers and students. One question is whether there is a sentencing bias based on the gender of teachers who had a sexual relationship with their underage students. Are female teachers more likely to escape harsh penalties than their male counterparts? And
So we already know the answer to this, but let's just see what what Dan Abrams and his team have to say about it.
if so, is that necessarily a bad thing? It appears there hasn't been a national study recently, but a 2013 analysis from New Jersey's Star Ledger looked into 97 cases in that state in response to the high-profile case of Erica DiPaolo, a high school teacher in West Orange, New Jersey, who was not sentenced to any prison time, but instead to lifetime parole supervision for a sexual relationship she had with a 15-year-old student.
Lifetime parole with a 15-year-old student. Yeah, is there a double standard? Yeah, sure. We already started off proving exactly what I'm talking about.
All the cases the paper analyzed were between 2003 and 2013, and they found that female teachers did tend to get lighter sentences than the men. They reported that male defendants went to prison in 54% of cases, compared to 44% of cases for female defendants. Men averaged 2.4 years in prison, compared with 1.6 years in prison for women. Another important fact here, 93 of the 97 cases ended in plea deals. But if you look across the country, there are plenty of examples where female teachers face harsh punishments. Just look at Grand Rapids, Michigan, where in 2014, Abigail Marie Simon, a tutor and academic advisor at a Catholic school, was convicted and sentenced to spend between 8 and 25 years behind bars for having sex with a 15-year-old at the school. There's also the case of Stacy Schuler, 2011. The Ohio gym teacher sentenced to 4 years behind bars for having sex with 5 male students.
Can I just say how crazy this is? That this is happening this much. When was this? Let me take this off of full screen and see when this story was So this was 8 months ago. Okay, so this is relatively new. But this makes me ask the question, has it always been this way and the media has finally caught up? Is the increase has it been an increase in this due to, the female empowerment movement, I can do whatever I want, or single lonely women? There's so many factors as to why this may uh, why there has been an increase, or has it always been this way? And now, once again, the media is just is just catching up to it. Huh, makes you ask these type of questions. Let's go.
Students, multiple of them on the school's football team. And back in New Jersey is the case of Lauren Coyle Mitchell, the Jersey City second grade teacher who was sentenced to spend 5 years behind bars in 2015 for having an affair with a female student. So look, do I think it's okay that the men seem to be getting longer sentences? On the whole, yes, I'm okay with it.
See, there you go, man. So once again, let me blanket policy say all of this is gross, but women have been screaming for equality. If a woman does a crime, she should get the same amount of crime as a man. But he just admitted that he's okay with women getting less time and men getting more time. So eh, one of the things on my channel is we have to accept the fact when I do a story, it comes from the fact that social constructs haven't caught up with our innate biases and biological realities yet. And this is just a prime example of that.
I think most all of these cases are bad. And as I said before, I think they should all be prosecuted. But I am okay with the sentences generally being tougher for the men. Said it earlier.
You guys hearing this? Tell me what you think in the chat. And if you're watching this afterwards, make sure to comment what you think about what he just said. He said, I am okay with men getting more time. Let's see why.
The male teachers are the vast majority of those committing these crimes. There is a deterrent effect. It also seems that often the male teachers are more predatory than the female teachers.
Wait. Male teachers are more predatory. What does that mean? Can someone explain that to me? What does more predatory mean? That's a new one. Good, this guy.
Often seem more troubled and claim that they were the victims. Social stigma remains different for the.
Hey, Jay, how's it going, buddy?
Pretty good. I didn't know you was already started. My bad.
Oh, it's cool. Let me thanks for joining me and thanks for sending me the story. I really appreciate it. I already got into this. This I'm you didn't miss much in the first 2 minutes. But in fact I just got to this part where maybe you could help me explain this statement, and I want you to listen very closely, okay?
Okay.
Listen.
I think they should all be prosecuted. But I am okay with the sentences generally being tougher for the men.
Did you hear that?
Yes.
Okay, now let's keep going.
Said it earlier, the male teachers are the vast majority of those committing these crimes. There is a deterrent effect. It also seems that often the male teachers are more predatory than the female.
Did you hear that?
Yes.
Bro, explain to me what more predatory means. What does that mean? This guy just went on a diatribe saying that he is okay with I've done multiple disclaimers before this saying that all of this is bad. But
hmm
um social constructs haven't caught up to biological realities and our instinctual biases. So this guy before this went on this whole diatribe about how he's perfectly fine with guys getting harsher penalties, and then he says something like this. His view is that men are more predatory and in teaching roles than women. Explain that to me. When you hear him say that, what does that mean to you?
He's saying that the act of a man sleeping with a young girl is a more vicious act than the act of a woman sleeping with a young boy,
And
and
go ahead.
the act is more vicious, more predatory. It's more evil. That's what he's kind of implying. Because when you think of predator, you're thinking of like, someone that hunts something, right? So he's saying that when it's the other way around, it's not to the same degree, or it's not as bad.
And where do you think? First off, do you think the majority of society still adheres to that, and why do you think that is?
Because it's just one of those double standards that's just kind of understood, and neither side is truly outraged when it happens on a boy to a female teacher side. It's more of a ha 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 undertone where you wouldn't have the same thing the other way around.
I mean, I agree 100%, dude. Let's I'm gonna hit the play button on this. We're gonna watch about 4 or 5 more minutes of this, and then we're gonna go to the featured presentation as to this Colorado woman. So let's see what else this Dan Abrams guy has to say.
Female teachers who often seem more troubled and claim that they were the victims. Social stigma remains different for the boys and girls. Again, talking about 16 or 17 or 18, not 12, 13, etc. Whether that should or shouldn't be the case is a separate discussion. But joining me now is Billy Jo Grant, the COO of McGrath Training Solutions. She's a nationally recognized expert in school employee sexual misconduct prevention. She has some more data.
So let me just I come across a lot of videos, and they have these training experts and these consultants and stuff. And you guys, if you're watching this video, whether she has good information or bad information, or no, good or bad, just whatever information she has, whether it supports what you're talking about or it doesn't, you have to recognize that this is how she makes her money. She's a
Have you ever seen the
trained.
movie They Live?
Yeah, they live. Yep, exactly.
If I had the glasses on, she would definitely be one of those. Before she even says a word, just her frame, her face, all it just seems very artificial.
Yes. Did you ever see that video? And it had Ben Shapiro, and I think it had Anna Kasparian, and it had a couple of other people on a panel. And there's this black woman who's a civil rights attorney, and Ben Shapiro was like, you see race and everything," and she's like, "Well, I have to. I'm a civil rights attorney." A lot of these trainers and consultants that get paid to do bias training and all these type of things, they they're paid to perpetuate an environment where they can make money off of their training. So I just want
Yeah, they're like lobbyists.
100%. So let's see what this trainer and expert has to say.
Thanks so much for coming on the show. Appreciate it. All right. Tell us what other numbers that you have on this issue of whether women teachers tend to get less harsh sentences than the men.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. We do have some data. It's from the year 2014, and as you mentioned previously, it's really difficult to find data on this issue. And the best that we're able to do is track Google alerts for teachers arrested. And so what we did is in 2014, there were 361 arrests for teachers that had sexual misconduct.
So, this video came out 8 months ago, and they're having a look back at 2014 data. How sad is that? Let's keep going.
Students, and we charted the offender characteristics, the victim characteristics, the school characteristics, and characteristics about the crime. And we did find overall that females in our database received smaller sentences and fewer months probation than males. However, do want to point out that not all sexual misconduct cases in this database are the same, and that they vary a lot with their severity.
Yep, absolutely. And it is hard to make the comparisons because, as I was talking about with a guest earlier in the show, a lot of the female cases tend to involve students who are close to their age. And a lot of the male cases.
Wait. What did he do? Tend to be. This is about.
You okay over there? Are you glitching, or is that
No.
actually your
I'm
computer?
trying to understand because
Okay.
this is about teachers, right? And he
Yes.
said that a lot of female cases happen to be with people that are closer to their age. How can an underage student be closer to a teacher's age? I don't get it.
He's saying that maybe like the student is like 17 or 16 and the teacher's like maybe 24 and out of college.
Is that close?
He said closer in age.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
all right.
Involve
And
much greater disparity.
if it's in 17 to like, because like think about women getting, actually I think in a lot of cases are when women are undergraduating or practicing, which I know a lot of cases have happened with that way, where it's like the woman is still in college, like, and she's over 21, 22. So that maybe that's what he's trying to conflate as well.
I guess. I don't know.
I mean, I lived on a college campus. I was raised on a college campus. So I've seen that happen many times where it's like the teacher's aide ends up hooking up with the high school football player, things of that nature.
Yeah, that reminds me. I know I'm going to revisit this from earlier, but you're here now.
Okay.
Do you think that this is something that has always been going on, or do you think that
Oh,
there's been
absolutely.
like an increase in cases? Because you could argue that with women's lib and the increase in single women and that this may have increased based
Nah,
upon
nah, nah.
social movements,
It's
or has
always
it
been a
always been?
power. It's a power thing. And when women have that type of power over, I think it's always been a high number, just not really known about since the beginning of time,
Okay, I
or
can see
since the
that.
beginning of like public schooling, and especially in urban areas. Maybe not so much like in other cultures, but definitely in our culture, I definitely understand that. I think that both sides were getting it in.
Okay, all right, let's keep going.
Mhm.
etc. But let me ask you, do you have a thought on whether you think it's fair, it's okay that women in a lot of these cases get lighter sentences?
Well, to go to the data, I will say that the females that we just showed having smaller sentences, we do find that the males target younger victims, which is a more egregious behavior than females targeting older victims. We do.
What? What do you think about that, dude? Did you hear what she said?
Yes, I did.
She said males tend to target younger victims, so it's more of an egregious crime. What do you think?
Right. I mean, if you go by
Is-
that logic, if males, I mean, I'm just going by her statement. If males are targeting younger people versus like teachers being like 23, 24, and like in her scenario was like 17 and closer in age, then yes, I do think it is worse when either sex goes that low if they're going to a younger victim.
See, under the law, there's no distinction. I think that
True.
they should all get they should all be under the jail, all of them.
So even
You
in the
know,
scenario where it's a 17-year-old and a 21-year-old.
don't break the law, dude. There's so many.
Mm,
Look. It's not hard to not sleep with someone who's underage, bro. And here's the thing about
but,
it,
but 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 let's think like think about the 90s. Like we weren't so focused on underage as we are in like this new woke era. So again, think about sports athletes or high school basketball. Like that's happened so many times, and it's never been frowned upon in the culture. It's never been frowned upon from women. It's never been frowned upon from men. So I understand your concept of what you're saying is that it's throw them under the jail, but let's be realistic.
look, dude. If they're gonna throw the men under the jail, they need to throw the women under the jail. I would rather have them throw everyone under the jail because men are always gonna get thrown under the jail, always.
So it's more of a. Are you trying to be equal, or is it more like a revenge?
Both.
Okay.
I'm like, look. Here's the thing: women fought for equality, man, and we need to give them the full brunt of it. They fought for this. Let them have it. So here's the thing: we're not going to be able to remove the harsh penalties in society that men have to go through. All we can do is just let women experience. Because once again, I'm gonna take it away from this because all of this is egregious. Women want the smoke of being a man. They fought for it, so we gotta let them have it, man. We got to in all aspects.
Okay.
So when you're talking to me about who's doing what, whatever, the that's where I'm coming from a good 90%, 95% of the time. Yeah.
Okay.
Because once again, we're never gonna be like, we're never gonna get rid of the bias against men in the criminal justice system.
Correct.
Not in my lifetime. So let's just bring women up to our level. How about that?
I understand your sentiment.
Let me keep going.
We find that males have multiple victims, or females may tend to target just one or fewer victims. Males are going to have a larger age gap between them. Again, a more egregious behavior. The cases involving males are going to usually involve pornography in almost 100% of the incidences. They're more likely to have prior allegations, and they're more likely to have been arrested previously for other types of crimes. So you can see how with the male sentencing, if it's a more egregious behavior, they've got priors, you're going to have a larger sentence that's going to be involved with those individuals than with females.
That's very important to highlight. What do you make of the fact that a lot of the women involved, I shouldn't say a lot, but a good number of the women involved portray themselves as the victims? We don't hear that much with the men, but the women saying 17-year-old, 18-year-old, whatever the case may be, initiated.
15-year-old, 14-year-old seduced me, my marriage was going bad. I was emotionally unstable. I saw him every day. He gave me all this affection. I was powerless. Get out of here, man. No, it's not flying with me, dude. And I can't.
Well, I mean, what's the
stand
difference
cases
between
like
this and what the lady cop is doing right now? It's always the woman's trump card,
That's
isn't it?
true.
Is it not?
100%. 100%. But you know what? I think that trump card is starting to run out, man. I think that society is being.
No, sir.
No, I'm starting to, because here's the thing.
Let's make a
Go ahead.
bet that this trump card that the cop woman ends up working for her. I'll make a bet with you. You want to take that bet?
No, I'm not gonna take that bet, bro.
Oh, come on, let's do
Have
a friendly bet.
After we get done with this video, I just want to. Have you
I
seen?
want it on wax. I want it live, and I want you to accept this bet.
But no, man.
Because you believe that the tide is changing, correct?
No. What I'm saying is there are trends like the whole Karen thing. Okay, you got to admit the invention of the Karen was significant in the fact that I think society is starting to see that women have these weapons that they can use. Now, are they ready to
give them the penalty for that? No.
Are they?
They're ready to call it out and shame them on the internet.
Are they ready to
Absolutely.
disarm these women from those weapons? No, they're not. But at
because it's
least
entertaining.
they're becoming aware, though.
But because it's entertaining.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, well, I want to. Have you seen that cop? So she's wearing glasses and her hair is
she
parted
changed her
down
hair
the middle.
color.
And
Yeah,
she's trying to.
She got rid of her chipmunk cheeks. Now she's got like her cheeks aren't full of cum. Now they've been dehydrated. Like she has a skinny face now. Yeah, I saw it.
Of course. We're gonna watch.
She doesn't look happy like she did in the picture,
Yeah, with the big old smile and stuff.
Yeah. Now she looks all depressed and missing dick. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She has to sleep with her pastor husband who doesn't know how to do anything, probably.
Yeah, dude. What it's early 2023. We have the simp of the year, dude.
Oh God.
Maybe the simp of the decade is that guy right there. We're gonna play this video for another minute.
Well, let's give him a chance. Maybe he's setting up the right divorce because maybe he's setting it up. Maybe he's having to set up his divorce the right way. I'll give him.
Yeah. Maybe he's waiting for her to get the settlement and then he'll divorce her and take half the settlement.
Now that would be smart.
Maybe he's playing lovey-dovey right now. Checkers, bro.
Hey, hey, they know how to Game of Thrones it. See, a black guy in that situation would have divorced right away and not seen the bigger picture. But he's like, I'm about to get some generational wealth for my side of the family. That's how you got to play the game.
I hear that. Let's get to here.
The sex, and they didn't fight it off, so to speak.
Yeah, and And in our society, we definitely have a power differential between students that are mandatory to go to school and teachers. So we have that power differential, but we also have a power differential between men and women. And so men typically are in a power role, regardless if it's in a school setting or organizational setting or in a relationship. Men have traditionally been in a power role, and so that's going to come into play here. Even though in this scenario, a female is in the power role as the teacher.
Are there more of these cases happening now, or is it sort of more of a media fiction? Or
Yeah, let's see what he says about this, because we were talking about that earlier. Let's see what he
Okay.
says.
are these women being prosecuted more in a way that maybe they weren't 10 years ago, 15 years ago?
The numbers still seem about the same, and that it's between 30 to 40%, depending on the database or what state or who's looking at data. But the numbers are around 30 to 40% female, and the 60 to 70% male, and it's stayed steady there. As far as Google Alerts, we've been tracking those since 2014, and it's been pretty consistent between 400 to 600 cases a year since 2014 that are headline news. So for teachers arrested. And I do want to point out that those teachers arrested are only the ones that make the news, and many of these cases are handled internally and never get to the news headlines.
And I think that there is definitely a bias towards the physical attributes of someone. I think that when there is a particularly attractive woman, the news media tends to cover it more. I think there is more interest. I think it leads to more discussion and debate, more jokes on the part of people who are having these discussions. And I think that's part of the quote unquote bias of the media is.
What do you think? Do you subscribe to the theory that attractive women, the cases where the female teacher is attractive get the most attention?
Absolutely. It's I mean, from a marketing standpoint, think about the Patrice O'Neill joke about Natalie Holloway. You know, everyone knew about her because she's an attractive white girl. But no
So
one
do you
knew the name
remember?
of the other girl who's from Colombia.
Do you remember on South Park, Kyle's baby brother, and the teacher was trying to get at Kyle's baby brother, and they're
Mhm.
like, "But is she hot?" He's like, "Yeah, but so what?" And they're like, "Nice." Remember that
Yeah.
South Park episode?
I mean, there's always truth in jokes. There really is.
That's the truth. All right, we're gonna end this video now. Any what are your thoughts about what Dan Abrams covered and his
I
little
will
expert here?
I will say the expert does her job very well.
Hmm.
She definitely would counteract any argument, or at least make you have to consider it deeper than you would want to.
Hmm.
And she's good at her job. I would definitely hire her if I needed her to spin some bullshit for me.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
agree with her, but again, she makes enough points where it's like, you have to actually consider it versus just shouting it down or poppycock. If you are thinking critically, because she made valid points.
Okay. Yeah. I can agree with that.
Okay.
Let's
Especially the
me
part about the older, because again, I've seen that also living in the country where it'll be like the guy who's a 40, because I'm thinking back in the day, not now. I'm thinking in the past. So I think a lot of these times women are trying to overcorrect. So because we're we're paying for the sins of our grandfathers and things like that. So men in those power positions, when there were actually a lot more men teachers in the schools, and these things were happening, now they're doing an overcorrection.
Cause yeah, well, I mean, I can see that viewpoint. It's crazy. You know that like less than 25% of teachers are men.
Yeah.
I think it's like 20%
Yeah,
are men.
but in the
Isn't that
past,
crazy to think
in the
about?
past it was really different.
Yeah, I think it was like there's a
At
time
least
where
40, and I
yeah.
don't know if it would be half, but I would
Let me
definitely
look
say
to
at least
see
40.
what percentage of teachers are men. So 25.7% of of teachers in the United States in public school are men. Now,
Okay,
what percentage of men, no, of teachers are men? 1950. So yeah, so it was about 50-50, a little more on the male side in the 50s and the 60s, and then
Okay.
it just dropped off a cliff. Okay, so let's go to the feature presentation video here. So what what gets me the most about this story before we even start on it is she got pregnant by the kid,
Hmm.
had his baby, and she has custody of the child.
She does. Okay.
Yes, it's crazy. So the family is fighting for custody now. She has to be on the offender registry,
Right.
but I don't think that's enough. And this is going to be on 10 years probation.
Well, I hope she's not in Alabama because then she might end up molesting her own kid
Oh my
because
goodness.
she has no other option.
Oh my god. So let's get into the story here.
All right.
Action investigation. A 31-year-old woman who admits to having sex with a 13-year-old boy and then becoming pregnant with his child won't face any jail time under a plea deal with prosecutors.
11 call for action. Investigative reporter.
Clown world. I wonder how much. Do you think
This
if she
only
would went to?
happened, but this only happened because the public didn't really know about this case beforehand. Because if there was, there would be more of an outcry of the plea deal. So had the public known about this before the plea deal was already reached, it wouldn't have been the same result.
Do you think that it would have been different if
Absolutely.
if she would have gone to trial?
Yes. And the public knew about it? Absolutely.
This is clown world, man.
Because
Let's
people want to call out the double standard. So if they had gone
Mhm.
to trial, it would have been probably held up.
I wonder if her lawyer even said that, was like, look, you need to take this plea deal, man, because if this gets out,
Yeah,
there's a trial.
because men want to overcorrect now with after us having to suffer with the whole Me Too bullshit. It would be a
Mhm.
perfect example of
You got to say
righting that wrong, and she would have.
you got to say M2 because that term is U2 sensitive.
Really? Wow.
Yes, yeah, you
Okay.
got to say M2, and yeah. uh, so if you say that too many times, it'll flag the video.
I can say the N word over and over and over again, no problem. But
I
can't
know,
say,
right? But you
wow.
can't say, yeah, dude, it's brutal. All right,
Okay.
let's get into this story.
Matt Kroschel is joining us live tonight. Matt, 31-year-old Andrea Serrano was facing sexual assault charges, but accepted this new plea deal to stay out of prison.
Adam Serrano gave birth to a baby boy. She admitted to having sex with that 13-year-old. The victim's mother, who we're not going to identify in this story, tells us she is not happy with this deal offered to a woman she says ruined her son's life.
I feel like my son's robbed of his childhood. Now he's having to be a father. He's a victim, and he's going to have to live with that for the rest of his life.
This mother says watching her son struggle with the reality he now faces breaks her heart.
What has this been like for your son?
It's caused him a lot of depression. He's shut down a lot.
Now she
I just thought of something. So I'm from Washington State, right? And I knew this girl who was 18 and she got pregnant by a 14-year-old and had his kid. It's crazy. And so at the time in the law, it's like it was a difference in years of age or something. And if he would have been like 2 months older, she would have had to face charges. But I don't know the specifics of it. But yeah, so she has two other kids by two different guys. But her first child, she had with a 14-year-old when she was 18. And this is back in I knew this girl back in like 2009, and even then I was like, "What?" And she showed me like pictures of, "Oh yeah, this is when we first met," and he looked like a 14-year-old kid. Yeah, but she got away with it. Yeah, it's crazy. Let's keep going.
questions why this woman won't face prison time.
I feel like if she was a man and he was a little girl, it would definitely be different. They would be seeking incarceration. And I feel like because she's a woman, they're not. They're having compassion for her because she was pregnant. But I don't think they take into play, again, she was pregnant by a child. You know, that child was created from a sexual abuse.
there you go. I'm glad that the mom said it, admitted it, because that's literally what happened. But they're going to go into what was considered and the decision here in a second. So let's keep going.
Under terms of the plea deal the suspect signed off on, she'll be required to register as a sex offender, and the judge could sentence her to 10 years to life of sex offender intensive supervised probation. But Serrano will avoid any jail time since the DA's office dropped the original charges to a lesser charge that does not come with mandatory jail time.
What should other parents be looking for?
Don't trust anybody, honestly. I mean, you can't trust anybody now.
The victim's
And that's the most
family
important
said
part that they're not speaking about.
Mhm.
The trauma that's going to happen to this child. He's not going to be able to trust anyone. Let's think big picture. Think alchemy. Think of how this is now going to affect him for the rest of his life. And where's the justice for that penalty? Where's the justice for that? He's going to have to deal with this
Yeah.
and have a son from it at the same time.
Yeah. Because here's the thing. Even as adult men, we don't want to be sentenced to 8 months, to 18 years
I was going to
of
say, you got off light.
no, but once again, even as a grown man, you don't want to be sentenced to 18 years of having to be a father when you don't want to be, and having to deal with a baby mom and stuff. But you're a 13-year-old man, like, and you have this blatant reminder, like, to talk about being forced to have to grow up.
Yeah,
Could you imagine? Oh my
not at
gosh.
all.
Oh, and then also the freaking the body autonomy. Like,
Yeah, well,
once that
just
pregnancy.
think how
Go ahead.
different your life would be had it happened to you at
Yeah,
13 years old and you had a son. Where
yeah.
do you think you would be right now in life? Phew.
I, I can't even fathom it, man. I can't even. Like,
That's a crazy multiverse, right?
yeah. Could you imagine?
No, I have to take some mushrooms to reach that.
Let's finish out the rest of the story real quick.
as they are
Mhm.
looking for the next steps in this case, and they'll actually ask the courts to give custody to the 13-year-old of this baby. Adam and Lindsay, what we do know is that Serrano has a hearing coming up in May where she will learn how much probation time she'll have. Currently, Serrano has full custody of the baby. Back to you.
Okay, we'll follow up on that case.
So you know what's gonna happen next, right? She
Yes.
gonna sue him for child support, and then his mom is gonna end up having to pay child support.
That's why the
Because
mom has to get custody, 100% custody, and go for that because
bec-
any other, and again, that also fixes the alchemy of this, because at least you can get a blessing out of it and
yeah,
turn it into something that you love versus
well,
it being the other way around and
the,
that child being turned against you
that
or
one
used
case,
against you.
the instance I was telling you about earlier, where the 18-year-old girl slept with the 14-year-old, she
Mhm.
sued that 14-year-old for child support and got it, and then his dad had to pay child support
Yeah.
because he was 14. He wasn't even old enough. Like this kid, he's 13 years old. He can't even get a job for three years.
They took it of his allowance, right?
Oh my gosh, man.
Maybe he was like Jewish and had a bar mitzvah, and then they took they took a percentage of his gift money.
You know what? Because we're doing this, I found this other story here. This is an example. This is another example. Might as well cover this one because this lady used Fortnite to lure a student, and she got 60 days in prison. Let's see.
You,
I'm gonna
you
bring
think in
this
the urban area they got like female teachers using Madden and 2K to
up. It wouldn't surprise me, man. And so here's the thing.
in Call of Duty? Like there's some predators,
Okay,
some female teacher
okay.
predators playing Call of Duty.
Before we get into this next
Okay,
story here,
let's keep it
what
serious, right? Sorry.
what shocks me the most about these stories is that there's so many stops of failure before you
Yes.
get to this point. Okay. And that's one of the reasons why I don't feel bad for men when they get wrapped up in this, because I mean, like, we know that you had to push through a lot of you had to make a lot of bad decisions to get to this point. Okay.
Mhm.
And I just don't think that women have made that connection yet. Like if you look at all of the dumb things that these teachers, these female teachers had to the dumb decisions they had to make to get to this point, and they're still not being held accountable. It's crazy. I just like I said, for me, I see them as the same. People, oh, these poor teachers. She was, she had a bad marriage. Her husband was, emotionally, harsh to her, and she didn't. It was a purely an emotional. I don't care. Okay.
Doug,
Hmm.
I'm gonna need you. I'm gonna need you to work on your female voice, man. That was horrible.
I'll practice it.
Okay. Whew.
What do you think about the stops to failure that I was talking about? What would make? Do you think that there's a difference in the motivation and the pathology between like a woman that just keeps going to end up in this scenario and a man, or do you think it's the same motivations?
But if I'm saying yes, it's the same motivations because it's on the same vibrations. So yes, it's
Mhm.
still predatory in nature. It's still an abuse of power. It's it's a neglect of bigger picture and what you're supposed to be doing as far as molding a child and putting them on the path to be the best version of themselves. It's everything. It goes against everything that you're supposed to be as a teacher,
Awful.
male or female.
And I'm gonna put the in. I'm gonna drop the link in the chat to see if anyone else wants to come up. You're watching, you want to come up, you have something to say, just go ahead and call in. I'll let you in, and we're gonna review the sex story real quick. Let me bring it up real quick. Present. You see that it says teacher who used Fortnite to lure an essay student gets 60 days in prison, and this went on for years, bro. Listen, let's go.
Friends a student by playing Fortnite with him before sexually. Handball teacher befriends a student by playing Fortnite with him before sexually assaulting him for years.
A judge sentenced Marka Bodine to 60 days in jail and 10 years probation today. The DA's office is furious because they wanted her in jail for 40 years.
And all new tonight at 10, ABC 13's Brianna Connor is digging into this unusually and surprising light sentence. Brianna makes sense of all of this for us.
Several people out there really shocked about this. I did speak with a couple experts tonight. No one is excusing this illegal and predatory behavior, but I'm told there were several things that went into Judge George Glass's decision on a sentence intended to provide justice for the victim and discourage this former teacher from doing anything like this ever again.
So
I asked for a minimum.
So yeah, we're gonna get into some more experts, and then the judge is gonna talk about he what went into the consideration for her sentencing, and they're actually gonna outline the whole timeline. So let's get back into it.
20.
A Harris County prosecutor pushed for Marka Bodine to receive at least 2 decades in jail as punishment for a predatory and sexual relationship she engaged in with a student when she worked at Tomball Intermediate School. During the hearing, the court heard from the victim, his parent, and Bodine's doctor.
I think no small part of an explanation for this sentence may lie in any psychological.
Get the captions on. That was my fault. Sorry about that.
Information they provided to the court.
Criminal defense attorney Christopher Downey says the judge had to take that testimony into account, along with how likely she is to reoffend. Other societal factors may have also been at play.
By all accounts, this is an unusual outcome. And I'm sure that the gender of the person on trial, the fact that this was a woman accused of having sex with a young boy, that's going to factor into it as well.
A clinical.
There you go. There you go. He said it. What do you think?
I guess he said what society is always not said, but again, until society is actually as outraged as you are. All he did was say the truth. It's an
Sad,
ugly
man.
truth, but it is the truth.
Sad. Let's get through the rest of it.
A psychologist who works with victims of abuse says typically no punishment is ever enough. Many people believe that once they hear
See what I'm saying? No punishment is ever enough. Bury them under the jail, all of them.
the sentence, they're going to be relieved or they're going to feel justified. And then most often they are let down because they just don't feel like enough was done. Bodine used video games and texting to lure in her 13-year-old victim before trading explicit pictures and videos. Court documents show that eventually led to
Once again, all those, it's like, you shouldn't be playing games with him. You shouldn't be sending him texts. You shouldn't be sending him videos, but they just keep going. I don't understand the pathology behind it, man. I don't. This is men and women. And then men, we've been getting like, we've seen men just get thrown under the jail for years, and women just think they just must think that they're exempt. That they can just get away with it, I guess. What do you think? Do a lot of these women think that there will be a different standard if they get caught, or do you think they just don't think that they'll ever get caught?
Both, but it's a known unknown. That they know that if they do get caught, there's a penalty, and they know that most times the boy won't say anything.
Okay. Do you think? Because that makes me that makes me wonder. I wonder if he said something or if his parents found out. I
Well,
don't
she
think they
got
said.
pregnant, so I mean,
Ugh, God, man. All right, let's finish the story out.
rape
can't
over
really
a
hide that.
3-year period. For those crimes, she will spend 10 years on probation, register as a sex offender, receive therapy, and spend 60 days at some point in jail. The perpetrators that are
So you see that at some point she'll
Yeah.
spend it in jail. They just don't know when yet. The double standard just kills me, dude. It just kills me. We're almost done.
the smartest and the most successful look like you and me. They don't look like a stranger in the bushes or what we're brought up to believe. They look like someone that we would trust, which is why we do trust them. In Houston, I'm Brianna Connor, ABC 13 Eyewitness News.
So this double standard, man.
Yes.
I'm just gonna reiterate: men, they're always gonna get the book thrown at them, but women, you got to throw the book equally at them, man. So I'm hoping to see that the sentences get harsher and harsher for women, because men have a zero tolerance policy, and women should too. All this behavior is disgusting, but there should be no difference between how much time men get and women get if they offend in this arena. What do you think?
So even if it's closer in age, as far as like I said, the first scenario, like 22, college, whatever, blah blah blah, you would want the same penalty for, let's say, a man that's 40s and doing it, correct?
Yep. Okay. Do you think I'm gonna ask you the question? Let's
Mhm.
say it's a guy who's 22 and gets caught with, a person that's around the age they're talking about, and then a guy who's 40 and gets caught with a 17-year-old. Would they get? Would there be any kind of consideration between those two cases, or do you think both of them would be buried under the jail?
There's definitely consideration for the younger one. It's happened many times in the past.
You think so?
Absolutely. Think about how the times in the military. There's many times the military people had been linking with get caught with younger age.
Oh, well, I wasn't in the military, so I don't know.
Oh, neither was I. I just know. Think about it. Really, like, let's go back, because that's been a norm, especially in the urban area as well, in urban communities, for the military guys to come in and get into high school girls.
Okay, yeah. I wasn't in the
So
military.
would you want them to incur the same penalty as if they were 40 something years old?
Look, I'm gonna stick on my original stance.
Wait! Don't run from that question.
Huh?
Would you want them to have the same penalty for someone who's versus 40, like your own age or older? I honestly, I wouldn't. I would understand it differently.
I don't know,
Now
man.
he should definitely. No, I'm not saying it. He should definitely have a punishment. Absolutely, but I do not believe that. I do believe that the older one is more predatory in nature. Honestly.
Yeah. I can
And I'm not talking
see.
about old men in the military. I'm talking about again, think about the people in Vietnam. A lot of times they married those girls out of high school. Really, think about that. So I wouldn't give it the same degree as if someone was like a pastor and in their 40s. That's way worse. Versus
Okay.
something like that. Oh, see, so that's where I.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
So if I could say, I mean, I'm just gonna say a given that this should be avoided at all times. But yeah, I could see that. Like the
I mean,
older.
think what was the age? What was the age difference between your grandparents?
Oh gee, yeah. My mom's dad was like 20 something years older than my grandma. It was nuts.
Okay.
It was nuts.
Yeah,
So
I'm pretty
yeah,
sure
I mean, I can see
I'm
that.
pretty sure it was like an 8 or 9 year difference between my papa, and I'm pretty positive she was a debutante, like cheerleader kind of, and I think that's how he married her right out of high school, parents' blessing. But he was also, I think he was like 20. Yeah, he was like, so again, maybe it's because it's ingrained in our culture, but if we look back to the history of time, I honestly think it's been a case like that,
Well,
of that age
do you think
difference,
this will go into? Let me go off onto a little bit of a tangent.
Okay.
Because most of the rest of the world, there's still, I think it's like a 7 to 9 year age gap between
Yes.
husbands and wives. But the West, we've like we've tried to push to
Mhm.
shy away from age gap dating. Like, why do you think that is?
Because that works better for capitalism.
Oh
Because
yeah,
yeah,
okay.
because if it was older, I think marriages would be more stable. But because it's the same age, and they know that the young person probably can't support that, they get it through the court system, which makes them more money.
That's true. I agree with that 100%. Um, yeah, sh- simple.
Shit, I was almost smart.
But going back to
Clip this. I'm gonna clip this and send it to every teacher. Like it was all a dream. I said
I
something smart. No, it's like shit.
So your original question,
Yeah.
with the starting point that this behavior should be avoided at all costs. I would think that, yeah, I would say that. I think if it's a 22-year-old, a 17-year-old, especially, if I think that there should be a lesser sentence. But I just think that women's sentences and male sentences should be
Wait, you do know
completely
that if there's a draft, every single
encouraged.
21-year-old something's going to be trying to marry a high school girl. If there was an actual draft and an actual war, and men thought they were actually going to die,
Yeah. 'Cause I knew a lot of soldiers
that
in
would
my hometown.
absolutely
They
happen.
got before they got deployed on their first deployment or second
Mhm.
deployment, they got married to some chick, and of course,
Yeah.
it never worked out, so they ended up getting divorced. Yeah, I remember that. I had a couple friends that did that, and it's always around their first deployment.
Mhm. See, so I
But
wouldn't give them the same penalty as someone who was in their 40s. I
okay,
would look at it differently, and maybe because back then there was actual wars happening, maybe that was why it was accepted.
mhm.
And but
Well,
unless there's a war coming, I still think it's bad. Now I wouldn't give that much grace now, but I do understand the court systems have already had a pattern of not having that kind of penalty for men that age and that age bracket.
yeah. Do you think? What do you? It just comes with, because one of the things about female empowerment is it women want to be in the realm of men, but they don't want the same consequences and the same accountability as men. And this is just another I don't. They don't want accountability and consequences, and society doesn't want them to have to take accountability and have the consequences either.
Right. Just a few YouTubers, you know.
So you haven't seen any kind of uh uh any kind of how am I going to put this here? You haven't seen any kind of cultural shift when it comes to holding women accountable at all? Do you think it's the same as it ever was, or do you see any kind of change at all?
I think it's the same as it always has been, and the only thing that's changed maybe now is the internet and shaming her name. But as far as like actual penalties and all that other stuff, no, I don't think it's changed.
What do you think is worse, punishment in the court of public opinion, or for women,
Hmm.
punishment in the court of public opinion, or punishment in actual court,
You mean actually going to jail?
actually going to jail?
Oh, definitely jail is worse for women. They rather be shamed in their name and just go in hermit mode.
D- Do you think that well, okay, so you said that there's an increase in coverage on these cases. Um, what? How do you think that? Do you think that the media coverage of these cases has been ending any kind of deterrent to women thinking about doing this kind of thing, or no?
No, not at all.
Not at
People
all.
lose their interest. People lose their interest in it within a month.
Oh, that's awful, awful.
Honestly, it's the truth. It's
Um,
just like life's commercial, you know. You say, oh, there's a commercial of life. I get to watch this for a bit, and maybe it's going to be on my mind. I'll think about it. It's that's what the news is. It's life's commercials when you could be on a different path of thinking in your brain, but you have commercials in your brain's thinking from the things from the news.
that's awful. Do you see? I'm just trying to think because I think that this is be. I just think that women's liberation, female empowerment, and the rise of single women is going to make this problem even worse.
I believe that. Absolutely, I
And
believe that. I believe that 100%.
yeah, because what is it? By 2030, what 50% of women are going to be single and childless, and women crave companionship a lot more than men do. And women are, it's like one of the most selfish things a woman can do is you see these women where they can't get along with adults, with an adult male. They can't have a relationship. So they'll have a kid to fill in that love from someone and the companionship. Do you think that mindset is the same thing that goes along with these women, these female teachers?
Yes. I think it's a little. I think it's no matter what, it's still a power dynamic when you're a woman getting with a younger boy. It's just that in a school structure, you have more access to be tempted to dive into that power.
What do you think about? Because I think one of one of the best parts about the next 10, 15 years is I think women were raised too long thinking that men were just inherently bad.
Mhm.
But so you're going to see women get into these positions of power in positions that males traditionally dominated, and they're going to do the same dumb stuff that these guys did because it wasn't just the fact that it was a man, it was a person in power that abused it. What do you think?
Until we actually recognize that that is something egregious, it won't change. But you're absolutely right in having the synopsis that you have.
Yeah. What was that one lady that ran that one company, and it was a big, huge Ponzi scheme?
Oh shit, Mary Kay? No,
No,
I have no idea.
what was her name? Email Ponzi scheme. What was that lady's name? But she had this company that was supposed to be doing blood work or something like that. Famous female Ponzi schemer. But she had this company where she got a bunch of money from a bunch of people, and now she is being. There was a documentary about her. I don't remember, but anyway, um, you see high profile cases like that where people didn't think that a woman could scam like $500 million out of people, but these women, they can do everything men can do.
Yeah, but better because they can get away with it.
Uh-huh. The assumption is that women don't do that kind of thing.
hmm
And what do you think that's ever gonna not be part of society, or are we just stuck with that?
Maybe 100 years from now, when everyone's all cyborgs and trans, whatever, when it's all like binary, then I think maybe it can change then.
Mhm.
I think once the gender, I think like maybe even 200 years from now, like once it's all been blurred, the gender roles and everything, then it'll be different. Big
Do
picture,
you
yeah.
could you and
What do you think? What do you think? Big picture,
um
200 years from now, it would have to. It's already starting now.
well, so here's the thing, but there's always a swing back and forth though, because I think that we're headed towards an era of conservatism. I I think it's gonna
But
happen
we're all
maybe
going to,
around.
200 years from now, it's gonna be like half robot. You
Oh,
know, like really though. Think about it. Think if we're here,
yeah.
you know,
I don't know. We'll see. I just
just,
I don't think things are gonna
like
change in my.
none of this. Like think of like if it was big picture and all this stuff that we're talking about now is going to be so different.
I don't know, man. I can't even imagine 100 years from now. I just
Oh, we got to get you some mushrooms.
have you seen those mock-ups where they show, what a person is going to look like 100 years from now? I guess,
Yeah,
there
they're
aren't
pretty
going to be
awesome.
black people and white people. That they're just going to be like, you know,
hmm
light-skinned people with kind of different, all the different features mocked up into one. Have you seen those sketches?
Yes.
Those mock-ups? Yeah. I think that's where society's gonna be, but I wouldn't be surprised once again if there isn't a time where there's, you know, extreme conservatism and tribalism where people circle the wagons back and stop doing this inclusivity, diversity type of deal. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely. There's definitely going to be some communities of Amish, like ran technology. I think there's going to be I wish black people would actually do it. I wish black people would break into groups and build communities like Amish and
Well,
like link up with the Native Americans on the reservations and actually build up the reservations to be more to be the reservations better. That
well,
makes perfect sense to me.
that's one of the biggest advantages that other communities have is that they circled the wagons and they never opened the wagons up. See, we wanted to integrate.
Right.
And so the only thing good about integration was if it wasn't for integration, we wouldn't have half the political power that we have. But then you couldn't even argue that we
Okay.
have
Is that what you
political
want to
power.
call it?
Well,
Okay.
if you look at seats in government, but I can see what you're talking about, where it's like what power is it
They
really?
they're just parts of the cog of
But
the bigger
but
picture. Yeah.
in general,
hmm
socially and economically, we would have benefited by just other communities that they stick in their own neighborhoods. You go to the Chinese part of town,
Yeah.
it's or the Asian part of town, the Jewish part of
Mhm.
town. It is thriving economically and stuff. But we did this whole integration thing, and it took so much of our social and economic capital away from our neighborhoods. It's
Let me
just.
ask you a question real quick.
Mhm,
W- Civil War ended, right? Civil
mhm.
War's over. What do you think would happen, or what do you think the black community would be right now had they aligned with Native Americans and gone with their religion and philosophies versus Christianity?
You know what? That's a good question. You know, I'm gonna think about that. Let me do some research, and maybe you and I can do a show on that because I've never had anyone ask me that before.
Okay.
That's
Well, I'm glad
that's
I
a
asked you
great
a question
question.
you never. Okay.
I don't even want to speculate because I wanna do some research about Reconstruction after slavery and maybe look at the events around that. Maybe we can do a show on that. That's a good idea.
Well, just think about how we practice Christianity and how much we really follow it as a community
Mhm.
versus if we were honorable to Native American religion.
Okay, yeah. I don't even.
I think we'd be in a better place. I think our image would be much better.
Yeah, I think so. I would, yeah. Well, I mean, we're. It would be definitely interesting to have found out because I've one of those people where, what are the key parts about Christianity? Remember, the you know what the Hamite theory is, and Seligman.
Hmm.
You, you know about that whole thing, right?
Yes.
So Seligman, he created the whole Hamite theory where, like, he's the one that got the people in the Bible to be white. And and that happened right around slavery.
Yeah.
And then Christianity, the label of Jesus being white and all the Egyptians being white has really screwed up African Americans ever since. But that'll be a different story.
Oh,
We just hit an hour.
Remember grandma's white Jesus always in the
Oh,
damn room,
God, don't even get me started, man. Oh,
just looking up in the sky.
yeah. Well, we just
Or she had the scary one that was staring right at you.
right at you. I know and it was always like tilt. It was there's one on
Yes.
the wall, and some of them
Showing those
had
neck
one.
muscles, you know.
Oh yeah, man.
Jesus had a strong neck because
Yeah, had some traps, some
he had neck
trapezius
abs.
muscles.
Yes.
Well, I'm gonna end the stream here, and like
All
before, I'm
right.
gonna do a little bit of research and try and see because that's a good question. What do I think would have happened after Reconstruction if we would have followed the Native Americans instead of? That's a good one. Let me do a little bit of research, and maybe we can do a show on it. I really appreciate you for stopping by, Jay. Plug your socials and all that stuff.
Oh, I'm What the Funk. Check out my channel if you've never heard what the funk genre is, and I'm happy to also make mixtapes, and I do them for free because I have a ton of videos on the channel already there. Peace.
Cool. All right, buddy. Good having you.
All right, man. Thanks a lot.
Bye bye.